My guest on this week's Talk to SA TV is the photographer Morten KrogVold. He's photographed everyone from Nelson Mandela to Mariah Carey and a few people in between around the world. He's visiting Dhaka for the Chobi Mela photography exhibition, and I'm about to sit down with him. Welcome to Talk to SA TV. Morten KrogVold, thank you very much for joining me. Welcome to Talk to SA TV.
Thank you.
You've been coming here to Bangladesh for a while, and you were here for the Chobi Mela photography exhibition. How did you get involved with that?
I was invited 12 years ago by Shahidul Alam, and he knew that I also taught workshops. So he asked me to come for an exhibition and a workshop, and since he had invited me every year, second year, so I've been here 6 times, running workshops at 3 exhibitions, and I love to be here.
And I was reading that the theme this year is fragility, and which was really interesting to me, and I thought I would ask you, what does fragility mean to an artist?
It means a lot. I think it's a vital thing, because if you're sure of what you're doing wrong, and you're always doubting what you're doing, you always feel that you're not good enough. So in a way, you're very fragile when you communicate with other people. I don't know if that is the reason they chose the team, but for me as an artist, I think that's the best team we could have.
And I suppose you could say the world is in a very fragile place at the moment. It's going through a lot of changes from the Middle East to North Africa, around the world. What role does art play in that? Do the political changes, the cultural changes that are taking place around the world, do they influence art, or vice versa? Or?
I think it's a very good question, and I know, especially in this festival, that people are very, very involved in technology and what kind of role it could play, art could play. It's one problem with it, and that is that the internet makes people think in the same way. So I can see that the students have been more Western oriented the last 12 years, and I think in a way art could play a more important role, but it's a problem because we think this in the same way.
I think you're one of the first people that I've heard, certainly first artists that I've heard, to say that the internet is actually leading to a lack of creativity with people. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's also, in one way, it increases creativity, but it actually does. But the problem is that we have the same information and we are more similar than ever in the history. So we are thinking too much in the same way. So it's a very good thing and it's a problem.
The kind of Wikipedia culture, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned your students here and that they're becoming more sort of Western oriented.
Yeah.
Does that put Bangladeshi culture at risk, therefore, do you think?
Absolutely, I think so. And I think they should know it here. And I say to my students, don't look to New York or Paris or London the whole time, because they are not the heroes, because they're very good photographers or artists. But here you have this culture from Asia, and Asia is doing very well. So go to your own source, because the Western audience would like not to see a Western cloning. They want to see a real artist from Asia. So go to your roots.
And that's one of the reasons for having this festival here as well, is to give people an opportunity to actually be exposed to art here rather than going abroad as well.
And I think that Shahidul Alam's idea, he's running the festival, that to keep this culture and present this culture to the rest of the world. So he's very aware of it, even if he's working very much in technology. But I mean, technology is very important in art, but it could be more.
What inspires you about this country as an artist? When you come here, what catches your eye?
I have a problem because I'm a black and white photographer mostly, and this is so colorful. So in a way I had to avoid the colors, and then the beauty is more terrible. I show the terrible beauty in a way. But that attracts me is that even it's this most heavy trafficked city in the world maybe, and people are struggling in the street, but people are so nice. I see the smile, and you can spot the eyes, the curiosity, the way they communicate. It's very fascinating.
Do you think Dhaka has the potential to really turn into an international hub of culture and art?
Yeah, but it depends on nearly one guy, Shahidul Alam. He is the spirit. I don't know if the politicians are ready for it, but around photography, it grows a lot. It's many very good ones that has now international standing. But they have one problem here, that photography is there, painters are there, musicians are there. They should combine all this artist environment in one. Don't separate them as I do here. So photographers don't know ballet dancers, and ballet dancers don't know the novelists. So they had to create a more spirit, all art together, I think.
Is art more politicized here? People often say that Bangladesh is a heavily polarized and politicized country. Do you find that translates or permeates into art?
Very good question again, because 2 years ago the students said to me, in the Western world, you think that Bangladesh is only traffic and it's only flood and it's factories burning down and it's poverty. And I said, because of you guys, because you are attracted as photographers to the slum. 90% of what you show the rest of the world is people suffering in the slum. Where are the middle class photography? Where's the upper class photography? Where's the business people in your images? It's always slum, poverty. So come on guys, show us the whole country.
And that becomes almost a kind of visual cliche,
yeah,
I suppose,
absolutely,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think they're starting to get a new knowledge of it. So this year, they focus more on happiness and positive sides, because it's very easy to go and take a moving photograph of a person lying in the streets. It's quite easy.
When you've been on your various travels here to Dhaka, where do you actually go? What do you actually focus on?
I get help from photographers and students, and I ask, show me, take me, and we go in the morning, because the light it's terrible to say, but because of the pollution, the morning light is very beautiful because it's so soft. So I go everywhere, and it's a nice thing about Bangladesh, because people love to be photographed. Take my picture, they love it. So that makes it easy. People take it as an honor to be photographed. But in UK or Norway, it's hard to get people to pose for you, or no, yeah, but here, yes, they do. Oh, fantastic, take my picture.
Right, if you go on the streets of London or Oslo, I imagine as well, and point a camera at people, they don't want to be photographed, or they wonder what you're doing.
Yeah, what do you do, why? What's the use? Are you putting it on the internet, or,
And you met Nelson Mandela, which I want to ask you about in a moment, but first of all, I just need to take a very quick break. I'm speaking with Morten KrogVold here on Talk to SA TV. We're taking a short break, and when we come back, I'll be asking him about that encounter with Nelson Mandela. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Talk to SA TV with me, Scott Craig, and this week I'm speaking with Morten KrogVold, a renowned photographer and artist visiting Dhaka. Morten KrogVold, before we went to the break, I was asking you about your encounter with Nelson Mandela. Tell me about it.
He was just elected as the president, and surprisingly, he gave me 1 hour, that much. And the first question I asked him was, Mr. President, how was it to be in prison 27 years without a woman? And I knew...
What did he say?
This is going to be funny, he said.
Yeah.
But then I asked, he was very, very nice. But then I actually asked him, what did he do the first day after you were released? And he said when he come to Soweto and had this speech on the football stadium, he said, I went home, invited people for a nice dinner, slept for 3 hours and start working. So he said, I get up in the morning, 5 o'clock, work till 3 o'clock in the morning, but I have a nap during the day because I have so much to do. And he couldn't understand that he was sort of a hero. He said, I'd only do the natural thing because he said, I have to cooperate with the enemies that put me in jail, or else it's no future. But he was also very worried about one thing is that people thought that when he was elected, the change will come in 14 days. He actually said 2 generations. And the people are just waiting for changes.
Right. When you meet someone like Mandela, who obviously is this iconic, I mean, he's one of the few people that you can truly use the word iconic.
And starstruck.
Yeah, when you meet him, I mean, as a photographer, are you looking at the image, or are you looking at the man, or is it even possible to tell?
No, it's a good question, because this is, as we do now, a communication business. So his face and the light is one thing. The background, I mean, the whole arrangement of the photograph is very important. But so everything about communication as we do now. And he's tried to get a conversation that will surprise him or connect him, not get him relaxed because I want him connected. So, and then I will go with the camera and wait for the moment. But you have, in one way, to do the conversation, and on the other hand, think about the image, because suddenly it's there and it will not come back again. So it's a two-way thing. The thing that we are doing, all this fresh, photographic element. But first of all, it's a communication business.
Comes back to the question of image, doesn't it? I mean, when someone in that kind of public role, are they essentially just kind of playing a role, do you think?
Absolutely. I think maybe it's management that she might be the world's nicest person in private. But I think they try to build up an image, especially in the United States. It's a lot of prestige and it's management that's always the problem. But in 99% of cases, people are absolutely wonderful. But when the management comes, then it's creates a problem. And it's the same with the royal people. They are so nice by heart. If you get them one-on-one and get rid of all these secretaries and servants and then it's like us.
I want to change gears just slightly and ask you about something which I'm sure that you get asked about a lot. But the point in my asking it is that I actually want to ask for your reflection on it now with the passage of some time. One of your former friends, Rune Øygard, was convicted on charges of having sex with a minor. You initially seemed to defend him in public. And I don't want to get into the whole case, but I simply want to ask you, when you reflect on that now, what do you think? I'm very shocked about how the press wrote about it, because I said it once in the local radio, and the next day I said I don't mean it, because I don't know. And the press went on and went on and went on. And after one day I said it's only 2 people that knows. So it was very hard for me to be, people thought I defended him because I did not. And he's actually not a friend. I know him. I have met him 2 times private in 16 years. Yeah. So that was good food for the press. Yeah. And does that come back again to the question of images? About the reason why I ask you this question is because I think it fits into the theme that we have about constructing an image. Is it just a sort of artificial construct, and then it kind of takes on a life of its own?
We are not dealing with reality. We are dealing with photography. And it's a wonderful story about Henri Matisse, the great painter. A woman bought his paintings and a nude. And the woman said, it's a beautiful painting, maestro, but the woman has not that long arms. And he said, Madam, this is not a woman, it's a painting. And we are dealing with art is about lying in a way. Because you're lying, we stop time. I do it in black and white and the color. So everything is an image. It's my interpretation. So we are not dealing with truth.
I read once that I think it was Grotowski who talked about.
He's my hero.
He talked about, if I recall correctly, the immorality, the inherent immorality of art. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, in a way, you can misuse it. I think my aim is that we are dealing with our fantasy, and in a way we can do everything we want, but we are not dealing with reality. And when people are doing poetry or painting, people know. But in photography, some people think it's reality, but it's not. So it's a depend on our moral. So we have a responsibility, absolutely. But you are well prepared.
It's a topic that fascinates me, and I mean, when you just because we're very nearly out of time, but are you surprised when people react by thinking that art is real?
Yeah, but I can understand because 99% of the audience don't know what art is. They think it's a nice painting, a nice photograph, or a nice piece of music, but they don't know anything about the process. And that is a wonderful thing with art, that we can do whatever we want to do. And people can accept it, but it's not the truth.
I'm speaking with Morten KrogVold here on Talk to SA TV. We're taking a short break now. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Talk to SA TV with me, Scott Craig. My guest this week is Morten KrogVold, the renowned photographer who's visiting Dhaka for the Chobi Mela Festival. Morten KrogVold, we were talking before we went to the break about art and reality, which I find a really fascinating discussion. And I was asking you if you were surprised. You said you were surprised that people sort of equate the two things. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, very. Because, you know, if I would like to take a portrait of you, where I put the camera, it will be different images of you.
Right.
If I put it here or there, it will make you look different. So it's my interpretation. So I'm responsible for everything. So I can make you look wonderful and I can make you look bad, just by changing angles.
And it means, therefore, that that the power of an image, does it mean, therefore, that there's no real inherent truth in the power of any image? It's simply whatever interpretation we wish to put on it?
I can give you an example. It's a very famous photograph by Kevin Carter of a small child lying, and it's a vulture behind, ready, because she's starving, and the vulture is hungry. But the truth was that if you had switched to a wide angle, it was a lot of doctors there. So she was not dying. But the whole world thought he was dying. So he was so heavily criticized about it that he committed suicide in 1992 in South Africa because he was so criticized. But he knew that the child was safe. So because the audience couldn't see the doctors, the tents, it was one single image, one little child waiting for to die, and this vulture ready to attack. But it was a lie.
Perhaps it's slightly an odd question or difficult to answer, but I'm really interested in the process.
Yeah.
How do you know what you want to photograph? Do you simply, inspiration strikes you and you have a fully formed image in your mind? How does it work?
I will break a TV rule now and give you a compliment for all the questions. This is about preparing. I'm writing every day, every night, handwrite diaries. I write ideas. I've prepared many years to what I want to tell to the world. I don't look around for coincidence. I know exactly what I want to do, why I'm doing it. It's about concentration, it's about timing, it's about what you want. Why do you have a camera? I think that's the main question to ask the students. Why do you have you bought a camera? What do you want to say with it? And don't go and just click. You have to have a mission, a statement. And that's about this process to be in. And nearly all the best photographers in the world say the process is the most important thing, the photograph is a bonus.
I know in television, as a reporter, and I've traveled all over the world, for me, sometimes the camera, of course, is an essential part of telling the story, but it can actually become a barrier. And I remember being in Tiananmen Square and seeing all you know, not during the protest, the massacre there, but seeing all of these tourists walking around, all looking through their cameras, but none of them actually looking. Does the camera ever become a barrier?
Absolutely. A camera can give you access, but I think it's a wonderful story that Pablo Picasso, the painter, painted on the camera to a very renowned photographer, Brassai, and he said, "My friend, that's your problem." And we, in the workshop, we make drawings every morning about famous art, and they interpret it differently. If they had photographed it, all would look the same. So camera has actually a problem. So we have to beat the camera to be more spontaneous. So I think the camera is the photographer's problem, actually.
We're very, very nearly out of time, but I just want to ask you one last question, which is, where do you go from here? I mean, not geographically necessarily, but in terms of your art. How is your method changing? What is your next idea or your next project or your next innovation?
First I'm going to Nepal, but my project, my big project is called Requiem. It's about death, but in a very positive way. It's that we are visiting this planet for maybe 70, 80 years, and then we go. But the buildings are there, the mountains are there, the sea hopefully are there. So I'm working with the Requiem project that is about life and death. It's a huge project. It's the most important project I've done. I've started it, and I want to finish it in about 2-3 years from now. So it's exciting and very, very difficult.
And you'll be coming back to Bangladesh?
Absolutely, if I'm invited.
Great. I'm sure you will be. Morten KrogVold, thank you very much for joining me. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.